So what are the things you're using out of the box that is not built in Salesforce, but you're coming up with the solutions to work with Litify to handle the large volume of cases that you're getting?
Sure. So, we need things like, a discoveries object that tracks tollings, you use filings objects. Everything that we're doing in Litify, we want to make sure we're tracking and can report on it. So a couple of those custom objects, like I said, discoveries, tollings, filings, making sure that we're able to move quickly and organized. So what I really liked about working with Micronet when we do have these complex problems is you guys take the time to understand the business case and the actual use case, not just, hey, I want data from A to B. Okay, well, why does data from A to B need to be there? And does it need to go to C eventually? What's the final use case for that data? And really digging in deep and not just, again, putting a Band-Aid on and say, all right, well, here, you wanted one quick problem solved. That problem's now solved, move on. It's okay. What's the end goal? What's the long-term vision here? And that's how Asim and I both think as well. So it's really been an alignment and vision with you guys.
Yeah, what I was very impressed about is a lot of law firms are busy enough kind of solving their own problems, but then you took a business problem, came up with a complex solution, then you're like, you know what? This is strong enough. I can go and offer this to other firms because not only now I'm able to, using resources I do have, able to do this for my firm, why don't I sell the extra bandwidth to other firms, right? And that's such an innovative approach because most of the firms are busy just solving their own part and then, their day is over. You have solved it, made it efficient, and able to extend it to the other firms. I mean, we don't see that too often. So if I had been strict on the scope, say, you know what, Chris, yes, we didn't estimate probably, buddy, you didn't say this, so I'm going to charge you for this, we wouldn't be here today.
Absolutely.
Right?
We also normally don't stick to our scope because we're constantly, sort of thinking about how to make things better. And our scopes, I mean, we've been in those types of implementations and other solutions where, every little change is a change order and it just becomes so painful. And, we're thankful that we have the relationship with you guys where you're not doing that kind of work, where we can have flexibility as we go through the implementation or change process.
Yeah, it's a long-term partnership, right? So it's a short-term gain. Like, I think a lot of companies and models that, like you said, they're designed to do a short-term profit, how much I can get out of you and walk away. Like, that's why, we don't believe in that model. Awesome. And Asim, you're a lawyer and very successful one. And as a lawyer, what got you into kind of focusing on the operations aspect? Because let's be honest, a lot of lawyers are still using Excel, right? What got you into focusing on solving this complicated problem? And you could have been just, okay, I'm a lawyer, I'm going to do my court cases and that's it, I don't want to know more. But you kind of grew so much and then you're like, you know what, I need to embrace technology. And so kind of walk us through what got you there, because you started off as a core lawyer and now you're way more than that. So can you talk about your journey a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I think I've always been a little tech savvy, so technology has always had space in my heart and my brain in terms of figuring out solutions that have or figuring out problems that have technical solutions that can help. And I'm also somebody who's always looking at how to make something more efficient, especially process. I mean, I think that's sort of one of my core strengths.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Micronetbd Podcast. In this episode, we have two new guests. We have Chris Reade from Sbaiti&company, the Director of Master Operations, and we have Mr. Asim Badaruzzaman. He is the partner of Sbaiti&company. So, Asim, welcome to our office.
Thank you very much.
Asim, if you want to introduce yourself for our audiences here.
I'm Asim Badaruzzaman. I'm a partner at Sbaiti&company. My practice is largely mass tort litigation. I've been doing mass tort litigation for, it seems like forever now. It's been about almost 17 years. I really don't know what else to say about myself other than, I love tech. I love working with you guys on a lot of the cool tech that we built for ourselves at our firm to manage our mass tort cases. We're a trial firm. We do a lot of sort of cutting edge litigation on both the commercial side and the mass tort side. And it's been Sbaiti now for a couple of years, and it's been a fun ride so far.
Nice. Thank you. George, if you want to.
Yeah, so I'm George, CEO of Micronetbd, and I think most of you know me. But I want to add something with what Asim just said is we work with a lot of different law firms and clients. And one of the things I would like to say is we work with you in two different law firms, you and Chris. And what I found is super organized client. Like we normally don't see clients being very organized and to the point and knows exactly what they want. Most of the clients we have to kind of define that for them. But in your case, Chris and Asim, both of you were super organized, came to us like, this is what we want to do. We had a clear vision. That's rare.
Yeah, thank you. It's both a blessing and a curse.
Chris, if you want to introduce yourself for our audience.
Sure. I'm Chris Reade. I'm the Director of Mass Tort Operations at Sbaiti & Company. I have about 10 years of mass tort experience and 15 years of legal operations experience.
So, how was your experience in our office? This is the first time you're visiting us, or you're in New Jersey, right? And this is the first time you're visit in our office. How do you like our office?
It's great. It's really nice. I had heard about it from Chris because he's been here before, and I like the colors. I wish we had more colors in our office.
Yeah. Recently, I think you guys have opened a new office in New Jersey for your mass tort operations or Sbaiti & Company. So, how long you guys have been? You have that office open?
Yeah, it's been about 14, 15 months now. We opened in March of last year in 24. So yeah, it's been going great.
Nice. So you guys are like actively hiring new people in the office. I'm assuming in there. Like, what are the roles you have hiring in that office right now?
Yeah, currently we're looking for a case manager. So if anyone's looking for a case management position, they should reach out to Sbaiti & Company in New Jersey.
I think your office is pretty much close to the Penn Station, Newark Penn Station, right?
Yeah, so we're actually in Gateway 3. So we're attached to Newark Penn Station. There's a bunch of buses, trains, and then we also have a bunch of parking lots around too. So a bunch of ways to get to the office.
Nice. So you guys are expanding the mass tort side of it. I think you joined Sbaiti & Company about like 2 years ago.
It's going to be 2 years and 4 weeks, yeah.
Was there mass tort operations before, or you like started the mass tort operations in that firm?
No, so yeah, the firm didn't have a true mass torts practice until I came on board. So yeah, once I did, Chris was one of the first people that I brought along for the ride, and from there it's just been a great ride so far.
Yeah. So Chris, you have also joined almost at the same time as
I joined
Asim.
in September of 23.
September. Okay. How's your experience so far in the new company?
Oh, it's been fantastic. Everyone's extremely helpful and wants to work, which is all we really need. Take that and run with it and get good results for our clients.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like we have been actually working with them for almost a year now. We have worked with you. I've worked with Asim, Cheryl, Jessica. We have worked with them. It's been a great experience working with all of them, and I think everyone can say the same thing that have worked from our team.
Yeah, same on our end. Everyone here at Micronet is extremely helpful and really creative with getting the solution that we actually need.
Yeah, appreciate the feedback. So, tell us about a little bit about the master side of it, because a lot of our audiences think they have watched the series like Suits, so they are familiar with the class actions a lot because there's so many class action lawsuits in the Suits. Yeah. But I think mass tort is a little bit different than class actions, right? So, what is the main differences between these two?
I wish my life was a lot more like Suits, but it's not. It's just like any other litigator. We're a trial law firm, so we do a lot of litigation work. Mass tort practice it's somewhat like a class action, but class is different in the sense that you have a large number of people who have essentially the same harm, and in a mass tort practice, the harm is going to be somewhat different. The injuries will be different, and so people who bring a mass tort claim, it's really just like a personal injury claim. You've been injured by something. In this case, in our practice, it's usually a product of some type, or a medical device, or a drug, and you've been injured, and your case is going to get evaluated on its own strengths, its own merits, and that's how it mostly differs from a class case, where you're pulled together with a large group of people.
And so if I understand correctly, like for example, in a class action, there's a damage, then that equally divided to everyone who got hurt, and everyone gets a pie of it. All of us get those letters like, sign up if you were using blah, blah, blah product, right? And
recently the Siri lawsuit, we all got the email from like the $95 million lawsuit.
Right.
We all got
gets your part of the pie. Versus mass tort is where, let's say you're using a CPAP machine, and it's a defective maybe product or version, and so someone else got a lung cancer and someone else maybe got an infection, so his damage is different than the other person's damage. So mass tort kind of compensates based on your exact damage.
That's exactly right. Yeah. In a class case, you're usually going to have, like you said, by and large, pie that gets divided equally by amongst a large group of plaintiffs. In a mass tort case, your damages are always going to be different, even if you have the same injury. One person's experience with lung cancer will be different with another person's experience with lung cancer. So those are probably the key differentiating factors between the two.
A lot of you who don't know about Chris, obviously he has mass tort operations experience for 10 years and then 15 years of legal operations, but he has a vast knowledge of Salesforce as well. As George saying, is one of the reasons we have enjoyed working with Asim and Chris, both of them, because they know in and out about Salesforce, in and out about Litify, what are the things are possible, what are the things are not possible. So it's like when we work with them, you can't really fool the clients, obviously, because they know exactly what is the possibility within Salesforce. That's why it's been an amazing experience working with them, because like you know the possibilities of Salesforce and the other platforms, and you know what are the other integrations you can do with Salesforce as well. So that's why like it has been fun working with you. Whatever the engagement period we have, like more than a year.
It's been over a year at Sbaiti and Company. Then I worked with you previously as well, like you said. So it's probably been about 4 years now since our first engagement.
Yeah.
And every time, you guys always come up with the creative answer that solves the actual need, not just a Band-Aid of like, okay, well, this can work for now.
As a director of operations and master side of it, I will ask you a little bit on the operations side of it. So you're using Litify as a CRM for mastered operations. So what are the things you're using out of the box that is not built in Salesforce, but you're coming up with the solutions to work with Litify to handle the large volume of cases that you're getting?
Sure. So, we need things like, a discoveries object that tracks tollings, you use filings objects, everything that we're doing in Litify, we want to make sure we're tracking and can report on it. So a couple of those custom objects, like I said, discoveries, tollings, filings, making sure that we're able to move quickly and organized.
So I would like to ask, so when you first came to us in your previous firm, right, you came with some ideas on how to enhance your entire document management workflow. I thought that project what you did was very interesting. Without going into specifics, I guess that like what kind of got you into like you haven't seen that type of solution in the market, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're doing with mass torts, it's just that it's things in masses. So doing things one by one or in groups of 10 or 15 just don't work for us. So you need to be able to do things in the hundreds, if not thousands. So you have to think outside the box and say, okay, well, I need to accomplish something in its scale very quickly. How can I do that? Set up templates and then be able to run templates on the back end. So thankfully to you guys, we were able to set that up and have a great product running now.
So I have a question for you, because I know you mentioned a few times, like when you try to explain that idea to other firms, right? And there were a lot of struggles on that. So can you talk about a little bit about how you work with us and when you try to replicate that in a new firm, struggles and how we got into the second firm?
Yeah, definitely. So the same kind of thing, when I first got to Sbaiti and Company, we had a consulting firm helping us with Litify. And unfortunately, when I told them I need certain things, I would just hit brick walls. Be like, well, no, you can't do that. That's not possible. When just quite frankly, I know that it is possible because I've done it before. So I was able to work with Micronet again, get back in touch with you guys, and build out, and like I said, actually fulfill the needs of the firm and our clients by working at scale and working smart, right? We have a lot of clients. We need to make sure we're taking care of all of them. So you have to be able to move efficiently, and that's what Sbaiti and Company is all about.
So Asim, do you want to talk a little bit about, like, I think outside of the mastered operations, there's like so many other services you're coming up with, like, because you're creative, you know the technology, you know the legal side of it. Combining these two aspects of it, you're also like coming up with different services that you can offer to other law firms, right? What are the other services you can think of that you're thinking of providing to other law firms?
Yeah, so when we first started this journey a couple of years ago, we had thought about building our tech stack and our workflows and our processes first as a proof of concept for our own firm, for our own mass tort practice, but then ultimately allowing other firms, other good trial firms, to leverage everything that we've built to use that for their own back office operation. And I mean, that's something that we've started doing as part of a docket management service offering, helping other firms manage their docket of mass tort cases, where we can do all of the workup from soup to nuts to allow them the opportunity to then go out and try those cases and do the things that they do best. And I think that's the greatest value that we offer firms on that side. So that's something that we started doing in the last couple of months, and it's been a pretty good ride.
So is it like are you going to be doing the marketing for that firm as well, or are they going to be doing their own marketing and they hand it out to the cases to you?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Right now, marketing is not part of our service. So generally do their marketing to sign up the case, but once the client is signed up and has signed them up as their lawyer, they can hand that case over to us, and we will treat that client just like our client. And they will essentially be a client of our firm for a limited purpose of helping them with the case workup and holding their hand through the process for as much as our law firm partner wants us to do. And we're pretty nimble with that kind of work. And frankly, the technology that we've built is what allows us to be that nimble. I mean, we built the tech to do a couple of things like Chris was saying. The first order of business is bulk processing. We need to be able to do a lot of things in bulk. And then the second thing was just being able to leverage automations and take out a lot of the inefficiencies that a lot of folks struggle with, whether it's in their CRM, in their document management system, or just in their workflows.
Got it. So when you handle the cases for them, are the clients going to see, the clients as in the clients of your partner law firm, are they going to see your letterhead, or are they going to get the letterheads of the law firm that they signed up with?
It depends on our law firm partner. I mean, we can do things with a joint letterhead. We can do, if they just want us to take the front end of it for a limited purpose, we could do that. A lot of those solutions are customizable based on what the engagement is, and we're, happy to discuss that whenever the right opportunity comes along.
Got it. And on your, you're going to be obviously using Litify as the back end of it, right? So what are the other features you have on your Litify org that your partner firms can take leverage of? I think in terms of communication, in terms of like handling in masses, if you can talk about what are the other features or the product you're using on your Litify that can help, handling the mass communications with the other firm or with the other clients.
Yeah, one of the apps that we use and we've had a great success with is Case Status. So Case Status has really altered the way that we communicate with our clients and stay in touch with them. So we're actually going to be able to use Case Status with other brands. So we're able to actually make sure that clients are aware of who their actual law firm is while we're handling their case for our law firm partners.
Got it.
So that's the number one piece of technology we like to leverage.
Case Status is actually, that is a really good solution. I mean, they're a really good partner of ours, and yeah, they work really well. So I agree with you.
Yeah, and like what are the other features that you use that the other law firm can take leverage of? I think the way you're handling it, you're not just taking out partners who would only use Litify, right? It could be any other, as long as they're mastered.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
You're partnering
so,
with them.
Thanks to you guys, we have APIs. We can API into anywhere, get anything pulled from anywhere. So we're able to work with anyone, not just Salesforce or Litify partners. So we are able to give them also reporting, any cadence. So whether it's from Salesforce, then we also have some BI reports in a platform called Domo that actually goes ahead and visualizes all the data for them. So we're able to give them access to that as well.
So when you came up with the solution, like you had a business problem in mind. You wanted to set up this process to serve other law firms. Then you came up with a process, kind of nimble process that will get to the solution, right?
Yeah.
Maybe talk about how you thought of each part and how you came up with the solution.
So part of this was really just from our own pain points. When we used to send cases out to other firms or work with other partners, we were blind. We didn't have data coming back to us. We didn't have anything coming back to us, quite frankly. So Asim and I thought about, okay, well, what do we want to see? And from there, build that out. And then, again, that's why Asim said we're very nimble and we're open to suggestions and whatever our partners want. We really want our clients, law firm-wise, to be satisfied with the offering. So everything's a conversation with us. It's not cut and dry. It's not, hey, here it is, take it or leave it. It's a conversation.
Yeah, I think our strength is that, we've been on both sides of that equation, right? We've been the handling firm, the trial firm, and we've also been on the referral side, sending cases out, so we know what the pain points are on both sides. So those are, we've tried to solve those on both sides of that equation. It's been going pretty well so far. I think the feedback that we've gotten from folks about what we've built and the visibility that it gives them, the level of accountability that they see in our work, they're partnering with us on, whether as the handling firm or just for this docket servicing piece, I think it's probably the biggest value drivers for them.
Awesome. And you're taking your vision, right? It's a new solution using maybe some existing stuff, some new thought process, and then from a technology-wise, as a technology partner, when you came to us with, okay, this is my vision, and I'm going to implement it, right? Walk us through your experience of, both of you can talk about this, is converting that vision into a technical reality and working with our team members. What was your experience?
We're the ideas people. I think our biggest strength is we like to innovate and we like to think outside the box. And I think what was helpful with all of you is you guys are also outside the box kind of thinkers. And Chris was talking about how we struggled with other partners that we worked with in this in the space, and sometimes the creativity was just not there to solve some very complex problems that come up in our practice. So I know Chris and I are, when you put us in a room, we start just spitballing a bunch of ideas, and sometimes we come up with something crazy, sometimes we'll come up with something that's actually practical and doable. And I think, that was part of the process, at least for me, that was a helpful part of the process, coming up with a real workable solution to solve some of our complex problems.
So what I really liked about working with Micronet when we do have these complex problems is you guys take the time to understand the business case and the actual use case, not just, hey, I want data from A to B. Okay, well, why does data from A to B need to be there? And does it need to go to C eventually? What's the final use case for that data? And really digging in deep and not just, again, putting a Band-Aid on and say, all right, well, here, you wanted one quick problem solved. That problem's now solved. Move on. It's okay. What's the end goal? What's the long-term vision here? And that's how Asim and I both think as well. So it's really been an alignment in vision with you guys.
Yeah, what was very impressed about is a lot of law firms are busy enough kind of solving their own problems, but then you took a business problem, came up with a complex solution, then you're like, you know what? This is strong enough. I can go and offer this to other firms because not only now I'm able to, using resources I do have, able to do this for my firm, why don't I sell the extra bandwidth to other firms, right? And that's such an innovative approach because most of the firms are busy just solving their own part and then their day is over. You have solved it, made it efficient, and able to extend it to the other firms. I mean, we don't see that too often.
So one thing I know that Asim has definitely had in mind for the past couple of years is generally just helping the mass tort space, and cleaning it up and making sure it's efficient and helping clients the best. So that really comes from him, definitely.
It's something that, being in this space for such a long time, we've seen how the industry has been evolving and has changed. And in some ways, it's changed in most ways, it's changed for the better with the arrival of so much technology, and especially with agentic AI and all the capabilities that we have to that we can leverage to make the processes so efficient and make everything a lot run more like clockwork as a true engine. So it would just be, I think it would be unfair for us to hog all that all those ideas and not offer those to other firms. And we know so many good, amazing lawyers in this space, and we'd rather have them going against the corporations, the bad corporations that we fight every single day, as opposed to trying to solve efficiency problems at their firms.
So for other law firms, maybe they're not on Litify or maybe on different other legal CRMs and struggling just keeping with this huge mass. Where suggestion would have for them? Like, where should they start?
Give us a call, and we can help you unpack that and see how we can get your cases in better shape.
Yeah, absolutely. There are not a lot of problems that we don't have thoughts on. I don't know if we'll be able to solve all of them, but we'll definitely have thoughts on those.
Yep, absolutely. So George, if you want to talk a little bit about the experiences that they have with other partners, and we are different because of the philosophies that you believe in, right? So some of the issues that they have, it is like scope issues and then limited resource issues and everything. And then we have been able to avoid all this. So do you want to talk a little bit about how we operate differently than the other firms?
Sure. So one of even when I was running sales and marketing operations before Micronet, right, major, multi-billion-dollar company, we used to use other vendors. And then one of the problems I saw was, we'll come up with a scope, right? And the partner will keep us true to the scope, and every single requirement and something changes, a change request, and then you send an email, that's a 15-minute charge, right? And so I saw a lot of problems where you're coming up with a business requirement, but as you don't even know the full needs when you start the project because you don't know what you don't know, and partners helping you with the scope, but then by the time middle of the project goes, you say, you know what, we need to do something differently to meet my business needs. But then there's a lot of structured, like especially big box farms, like, okay, this is what your scope you signed, this is what we're going to do, and any change is a major problem, major process, right? And so maybe you signed for a $20,000 scope, you end up spending $100,000, right? And I saw those problems. So when we launched Micronet later on, from the day one, my philosophy was we're not going to nickel and dime people, right? We're going to make the implementation process better because I was on the other side. So I wanted to kind of solve the problem, like how I wanted to be treated, right? So, when we take on a project, we know the named partner at a law firm, they don't know what they need. Let's be honest, right? They don't know what they need. Maybe someone sold them a new software. They said, okay, we can migrate it. So you need intakes, you need matters, you need financials. Okay, great. But they don't really know the details of what is integrate. So you come up with a scope, 500, 600 hours. You keep them totally true to the scope, charge them for billable hours for every single person that attended the meeting. You have 5 people attending from your company, charge them billable hours each. I mean, it's a huge mess, right? So when we try to implement, we kind of take the scope as a template, not like a Bible. It's a template. We work with the client through the project, figure out, adjust as needed. If there are minor changes, we're not going to make them sign a paperwork each time. As long as they're within the ballpark, we try to kind of stay reasonable, right? So a lot of these things that other firms are being too rigid in terms of the solutions. And the other part is what I noticed, especially with big firms, what they would do is they won't have an architect in charge in the whole project. What I mean by that is they'll have someone doing intake, someone doing matter, and based on the scope sign, someone doing financials, but there's no one really a technical person or technical architect who is overseeing the whole thing, because maybe at the beginning someone did, but as the project going on, especially they have siloed resources who are doing different things. So at the end, they don't have the high level resources as much as they should have. And so it's a cookie cutter approach, right? You have a specific type of cookies. The recipe you have is an assembly line process, right? And that assembly line process doesn't work for legal. I'm sorry, but that may work for some companies, but on the legal side, every farm is so different. The cookie cutter approach gets into a problem, and that's why we hear so many horror stories from so many law firms. The implementation going on for 2-3 years, $500,000 spent, nothing live. So that's why I think that whole implementation strategy in the space that people are using is wrong. And this is wrong for any space, but especially legal is so different that cookie cutter approach is really bad.
No, definitely. Like you were saying with the scope of work, you guys view relationships as actual, just that ongoing relationships, not a one-time engagement.
Yep.
Unfortunately, a lot of companies look at these things as one-time engagements and, okay, well, how much can I get out of you in this one time?
Right.
When it's about building a relationship and ongoing business for years to come.
Right. I mean, when we implemented in your original company, right, it was maybe 500-hour scope?
I think it was a $50,000
scope,
and I think it was double. I think it
and
ended up being close to double.
And then we made a mistake in estimating, and then we said, okay, well, you know what? We're going to eat it. And then we ended up spending 1,000 hours. So we didn't charge you for that, right?
Yep.
But then it's been 4 years. So if I had been strict on the scope, say, you know what, Chris, yes, we didn't estimate probably, buddy, you didn't say this, so I'm going to charge you for this, we wouldn't be here today.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
We also normally don't stick to our scope because we're constantly, sort of thinking about how to make things better. And our scopes, I mean, we've been in those types of implementations and other solutions where, every little change is a change order, and it just becomes so painful. And, we're thankful that we have the relationship with you guys where you're not doing that kind of work, where we can have flexibility as we go through the implementation or change process.
Yeah, it's a long-term partnership, right? So it's a short-term gain. Like, I think a lot of companies and models, like you said, they're designed to do a short-term profit, how much I can get out of you and walk away. Like, that's why, we don't believe in that model. Talk about your journey, how you got into...
Yeah, so originally I was doing more of just the actual facilities, right? Running the copier machine, make sure the kitchen's stocked, doing all that kind of stuff. That wasn't filling my day, so I just kept bugging Asim over here to say, hey, it's great, it's noon, everything's stocked, supplies are ordered, what else can I do? One of the first projects was a medical records project where I went through, we were using a third-party vendor, and we just weren't getting the results that were needed. So I went up and followed up with every single request by hand, faxing over, and saw a great return where all of a sudden within 5 days I had over 100 records back. So then I just went to Asim, was like, hey, what else you have for me? What else you have for me? And that involved into, about 6 months after that, we were getting on our first Salesforce platform. And he's like, hey, someone needs to own this. Someone needs to learn all about it and do that. And I was like, great. I'd love to do that. So I was able to learn Salesforce, the first iteration. We were on a platform for Litify called Avalogics. I learned everything there. And then about after 3 years, we transferred over to Litify. And then our operation just kept growing, internal intake team, internal medical records team, 3 receptionists. We had a whole bunch of people. I think there was about 65 support staffs by the time we left.
So did you ever think you would be like in the Litify space, solving these technical problems, like when you started off in the legal industry?
Never even dreamed of it. Never even knew what Salesforce was or CRM, but very quickly learned that Salesforce is very powerful, and it's really, you can make what you want of it, so you better just learn what you want and then make it.
Awesome. And Asim, you're a lawyer and very successful one. And as a lawyer, what got you into kind of focusing on the operations aspect? Because let's be honest, a lot of lawyers are still using Excel, right? What got you into focusing on solving this complicated problem? And you could have been just, okay, I'm a lawyer, I'm going to do my court cases and that's it, I don't want to know more. But you kind of grew so much, and then you're like, you know what, I need to embrace technology. And so kind of walk us through what got you there, because you started off as a core lawyer and now you're way more than that. So can you talk about your journey a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I think I've always been a little tech savvy, so technology has always had space in my heart and my brain in terms of figuring out solutions that have or figuring out problems that have technical solutions that can help. And I'm also somebody who's always looking at how to make something more efficient, especially process. I mean, I think that's sort of one of my core strengths. So, I was fortunate that, as part of being, a lawyer at my previous firm, I sort of got into the legal ops side of things as well. Sort of two things that I was doing in tandem. And, once I got into it, I was like, there are a lot of problems here, just industry-wide in the mass tort space that I think we can solve by leveraging better tech, by leveraging better processes and just getting, figuring out ways how we can make things more efficient. And so, it started off from there, and then it became sort of a beast that at this point I can't control because my mind just is constantly thinking about what are new things that we can do. Even the conversations we were having earlier today before this podcast, it's just my mind is still thinking about them as we're sitting around right now, how we can do things better.
Nice. Maybe you were meant to be an engineer.
I think so. My brother's an electrical engineer.
Yeah.
That probably would have been, something that I would have done if I hadn't become a lawyer. But
yeah, like when I was picking out my major, I was allowed to either be an engineer or a doctor. Otherwise, I get kicked out of the family. So
I almost got kicked out of the family for becoming a lawyer. So, yeah.
Well, thank you, Asim and Chris, for coming to our office, and really appreciate it. And hopefully you both liked it and enjoyed meeting the team and enjoyed the office.
No, it was great. Looking forward to continue working with you guys.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, likewise. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this podcast, and stay tuned for us for more episodes.